Welcome to the Run Out. I am Neil Barrett. He is Brandon Hooten. We have a lot of fun and goofy things to talk about this week. But before we do all of that, Brandon, what you been up to the last week since last we hung out?
Not much. Shot an Air Force game over the weekend. Yeah, they
For those
put up a lot of
that can't see,
points.
I have an Air Force shirt on.
Yeah,
did
they
put up
scored
a
a
lot of
lot,
points.
but they still lost. Boise State is still a very good team.
Boise State.
They had a running back that went for 5 touchdowns. So yeah, after the fourth one, he screamed out loud, "I'm unstoppable." He was like it was hilarious to see. Not for Air Force, but it was a good game nonetheless. And then did a high school game I think I mentioned last week as well. So yeah, now back to the 9 to 5, the fun times.
Yeah, no, I feel you. I have done basically nothing. We ran around all weekend and did a bunch of errands and stuff. So I was hoping to kind of relax and that did not happen. So
Of course not.
I'm not even really all that prepared for this episode. I was telling you a little bit before we hopped on that I'm not nearly as prepared as I wanted to be and as I thought I would be at this point. So, with all of that being said, let's just hop right into it. We're going to start with the NLL CBA word, as coming out that they are, it sounds like they might be getting closer. Dawson J. Nielsen on Twitter posted that progress is being made. Sources say the NLLPA's latest proposal aligns with the league and governor's current offer, which is kind of interesting because everything that we had heard was that the league's offer was lower than what it had been previously. So how they got on the same page, I don't really know, but I guess that's pretty good news. I don't want people to think that we just bash on the NLL after last week. So we definitely wanted to open up with this.
Yeah, and I would have to imagine that the owners kind of came up on their offer, which is why this is kind of happening now. I can't imagine the players fighting that long and then being like, yeah, just kidding, we'll go for the lower offer.
Right.
I mean, again, this is all speculation. Maybe they did. I don't know. I would hope not for their sake. But nonetheless, it's good news, especially because obviously if you listen to last week's episode, we weren't too happy about it, specifically myself. So I feel better about this, and just some other chatter I've heard, I feel just better in general about the league and kind of where we're heading. So hopefully this is, resolved here pretty soon, especially because then we can start seeing deals officially be signed. And there's a lot of guys right now that I think we kind of have not a clue, but we can infer where they're going to sign, but we don't actually know. Guys like Nick Rose come to mind. So I'm excited to see those kind of unfold. Obviously for him, it's looking like Toronto's going to be back in play, but there's several other guys that I'm questioning if they go back to their team. So I'm just excited to get back to normal lacrosse stuff and then into training camp, in October sometime and get going.
Yeah. No, I think we can all agree that we want to see everybody get back on the floor and out of the, boardrooms and stuff and back on the floor where they belong playing the game. So that is hopefully very good news. Hopefully nothing changes on that and we just kind of keep trucking forward and get something done. Because, I don't know if you saw, but I'm already started making some plans to go.
I did. Yeah.
Although I do have to say, I actually went a little bit earlier today to go see like how much are tickets? Can I go get them now? They're not up yet. I don't know if that's because of the CBA or if this is like standard practice that, tickets aren't really up until closer to the season or what, but I was like, man, I can't even try and get into it.
Yeah. Well, I think the Mammoth just posted something about when single game tickets would be on sale. Looks like single game tickets go on sale, at least for Colorado, November 6th. So that's probably why. Obviously season tickets are already, that's a whole separate thing. And that's what's weird is you can buy those. I guess it makes sense because you want those to be kind of season ticket members first. But so I would assume the rest of the league will kind of follow suit and be early November.
Early November. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it feels weird, but I guess it does make sense if you really kind of think about it. But I just like, man, I just want to go ahead and like get it, because if I have tickets, then that's going to make me more inclined. Like the longer that the closer it gets to the date without me having tickets, the more likely it is that I'm not going to make the trip. So I was like, I want to actually do it this time. But let's move on to maybe some fun topics here. We're going to start with our way too early 2026 predictions. This is something we'll probably revisit maybe after the draft to see if we still think these things or what. Obviously, lots of these things will change, especially we will start with the WLL, and I can almost guarantee that none of these picks are going to be correct because so much is going to change for the WLL. But that was kind of the idea, was that maybe it would be a little fun that, you know, after they do their collegiate draft or whatever, we can look at it and be like, no, we were way wrong. We want to change this. Or, hey, maybe we got really lucky and the teams that we talk about and pick and whatever pick up some really good players and we ride it out with them. So let's start first with the championship series in February. Who you picking for the WLL championship series winner at this point?
Man.
You might as well be throwing
it's like a dartboard
names on the board.
You know, I'm gonna roll with the West and go with the California Palms.
Dude, you're not gonna believe this. WLL championship series winner, my pick, California Palms.
Yeah.
It's the same exact thing.
I don't have a solid reasoning, but I just feel like second time around, Boston's already won. I feel like people are betting kind of heavy on New York, so I feel like, and I don't know about Maryland with like Alex Ostholman. I know she was pregnant, so I'm not totally sure, you know, if she's playing or what.
I would assume probably not, because it'll be so shortly after the birth, but she won't be pregnant by then, so I mean it's possible, I guess.
Right. So so we'll see about that. But yeah, I'm just gonna take the Palms and see what happens.
I got two reasons why I picked the Palms. One of them is Taylor Moreno in goal. Incredible. And the second one is Ali Mastroeni. I think she was one of my favorite players to watch in the championship series last year, and I think she just did just a hair under what she needed to do to get them in the game last year, the championship game last year. And I think maybe she's going to come back with a little bit of a vengeance there. That being said, like you said, the Guard won it last year. It's not going to be a big, huge shock to see them do it again this year. And the New York Charging are arguably, on paper at least, the best constructed roster. So like you said, I think they were hurt last year by, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, from Gold Rush when me and Jackson were doing that this past year. I'm pretty sure that they were the team that played like 4 games in 4 days up to the championship, and kind of looked like it in the championship. So all that to say, like you said, it won't be all that surprising. I think the only thing that would surprise us at this point is the Charm winning it all. Again, pre any signings, pre any moves that they make based off of their current roster. So, who do you see winning the Golden Stick?
Oh, this is tough because it can be from a losing team.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And remind me, is it the most points?
Most points.
Okay.
And I'm assuming that they're going to do that again this year, even though I think most of us kind of hate it and wish that there was more of an actual MVP award. Because again, the people playing in the championship have an advantage over everyone else because they're going to play an extra game. So,
I'm tempted to go with the hot pick here just for the fun of it.
let's hear it.
I think Sydney Black has a real chance
Yeah,
if Holman doesn't
true.
play. I mean, she has a chance regardless, but I
Yeah, I
think
was gonna
if
say
you're
even
missing
more.
a star teammate, like she's already incredible, and I think you add on that absence. You know, as long as her team can make the championship,
Yeah, that's what held her
I
back
think she
last
has
year.
a good chance.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that was a big reason, a big thing that held her back last year, and a big reason why people were kind of over the idea of it being the highest scorer, at least in terms of the whole tournament. If you want to do it just the highest scorer for those 4 games or whatever it is that everyone plays, fine. But yes, Sydney Black was right there and was really only kind of out of the race because she wasn't in the final. So no, I like that pick. I think that's a pretty solid pick. I took Ali Mastroianni again. Like I said, I think she's gonna have a little chip on her shoulder, but I mean, you can't go wrong with a Charlotte North, especially this far out. I think Emily Harris-Chuck would be a good pick. I'm totally blanking on her name. Was it Rachel Clark? Who was the one in the final? One of the girls in the final that just like exploded. Like there are so many girls that could do it. And then like we talked about last year, or last week. I mean, there's plenty of girls that are not currently on rosters who could probably win this award as well. So we'll see what it looks like by the time these rosters come out for the championship series. But let's move over to the full season. Like we talked about last week, the WLL is going to play a full 11-week season this coming year. Let's flip it up this time. Let's go MVP first. Who do you have for MVP?
I mean, it's going to be the usual suspects. And I'm looking through this list right now. This is tough.
It is.
I'm even trying to think back to like the All-Star game and who played really well in that game.
Lots of girls.
There was
really.
one that I want to say, but I just can't. I'm blanking on her name right now.
Who was it?
I'm trying to pull it up right now. All I know is she had like 9 points or something like that. Like something ridiculous. Here we go. Here's the stats. Probably should have looked this up beforehand. But oh, it was Rachel Clark, by the way, in the All-Star game. 7 points.
Yeah. She's crazy because I remember watching that game and feeling like she played well, but then seeing the stats and being like, holy crap, she played way better than I've remembered her playing.
Yeah. I think she's a sneaky pick.
Yeah.
But like Izzy Skane was on another level though.
Oh, that's true. We didn't even
Like I don't want to like just
mention
pick the favorite, like a favorite, but like she was going crazy in 10v10.
Well, and I was gonna say, I think there's a thing about 10v10 that Izzy Skane excels at that maybe isn't necessarily her strength in sixes. So yeah, no, I think Izzy Skane is a great shout for a 10v10 MVP.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to go with her for the way too early pick.
So my vote was Emily Harris-Chuck, but I almost want to say it's going to be one of the goalies. That, it's going to be Taylor Moreno, or I really, really liked Madison Doucette last year. And then, Delaney Schweitzer is going to be in the league. She's not currently on a team, though she did play in the All-Star game. I loved watching her play last year in college. So I could see that kind of like Blaze Reardon thing taking, especially because I mean these goalies have been so good. I'm not, it's funny to say that as I'm looking at Delaney Schweitzer was 42% and Taylor Moreno was 35% in that All-Star game. But both of them, Delaney Schweitzer had 10 saves, Taylor Moreno had 13 saves, and Katie Glenn added another 6 saves for Delaney Schweitzer's team. So, like, that's just how many shots were being shot, and that, like, they had pretty solid save numbers, but their saves average was so low, because there were just so many shots. There were 51 and 45 shots in this All-Star game. So, yeah.
And I still felt like they were playing serious. So I can only imagine what some of these games I think are going to look like with an actual season.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be that high scoring, but like, I think it'll be higher scoring than we're kind of imagining.
Well, it'll be interesting to see because the WLL rules are faster and more like free flowing than like college rules. So when you look at a 24-20 score line, you're like, yeah, women's lacrosse is probably not going to be that high when we get into a season. But then it's also like, well, I mean, like I said, it is a lot faster. It is a lot more kind of free flowing and stuff. So maybe that is going to be, I mean, maybe not quite 2024, but you know, upper teens could be a fairly consistent score line potentially. So, let's move on over to maybe something that we can maybe make some slightly more educated guesses at, since rosters should be relatively more easily predicted. Let's head over to the PLL. We will start also there with the championship series. Let's hear who you got for the winner. For anyone who, just as a refresher, it will be the Atlas, the Outlaws, the Woods, and the Chaos will be the 4 teams competing in the championship series. Almost all of these rosters will be missing big name guys who are playing in the NLL. So that's one of the kind of caveats to jump around here. I think the big one that's or the team that's going to be probably most well, depends on, I guess, how you look at it. The Chaos are going to be without pretty much all of their star players. Like, you're going to be left with Blaze obviously is going to be gone. Owen Hiltz will be gone. Adam Sherlin-Beatties will be gone. Like, pretty much every kind of top player that they have, except for, I guess, Jared Newman. I wonder if Jack Rowlett will even play.
Does Jared play sixes though?
I mean,
I'm not doubting his ability. I'm just saying I don't know if he is actually going to.
Yeah, I mean, that's true with the polls.
I guess same for Jack too. I mean,
yeah,
you could give him a short stick, I guess, but
didn't the Cannons put a shorty on like Epple or something?
Yeah, someone did. It might have been Epple. So I'm not saying it can't. I'm just curious to see, like, maybe they're just like, hey, I don't really want to do it, you know? Yeah. But yeah, they're going to be missing everybody.
Yeah. So, and then of course, you know, Atlas will miss Jeff Teaton, you know, Brennan O'Neill will be missing everyone's kind of missing someone, but the Chaos, I think, are missing pretty much every good player that you can think of from their roster.
Yeah.
So, that out of the way, who's your pick?
I'm going to take New York because I think they're getting impacted the least by guys missing. And the guys that they will still have left are All-Stars and an MVP. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I think the Outlaws having like McNaney and some of those guys will be helpful on the back end, but like they're missing Brennan, they're missing Pat, they're missing Dalton Young. You know, California is going to be missing Chris Cav, which is, you know, even just by himself is a tough loss. And then obviously Carolina's missing a ton. So I just think it makes the most sense. But, you know, maybe someone comes in and upsets. But way too early pick, New York Atlas.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on the Atlas. I think not only do you have kind of maybe the least amount of it's hard to say that when like Jeff T is one of the guys that's missing, but they have so many guys that that played then and will still play that are very high level guys. But they also have, I was kind of between them and the Redwoods. They also have a bunch of guys who have played sixes, who have played in the championship series for at least a year, if not 2 or 3 or whatever. So I think they have a lot of guys that kind of know what to expect and how to play this game really well. I do think the Woods will be highly competitive because I think they're going to have Dylan Malloy and Ryder Garnsey. Maybe they get Brendan Nickturn out there.
Romar Dennis.
Right, they'll have Romar. I don't know who else. Maybe they'll get Sam Hanley out there. I don't know if that helps them or not, but
hey, a couple 2-point shooters.
Worth
a shot.
Listen, maybe giving Hanley that extra foot? Is it 2 feet, 1 foot?
I thought it was 2 yards. Isn't it 13 yards?
Yards. I did say feet. I meant yards. Yes, 13 yards instead of the normal 15. Maybe that helps him. I think the thing that's probably going to hurt them the most is just goalie play. Liam Entman ain't gonna go play NLL, so he'll be there. Do we really think that Chase Erlin is gonna be the guy leading them to a championship in February? Like I don't know. So, but yeah, I'm going Atlas with you with maybe the Redwoods kind of being that next team.
There we go.
Yeah. Who do you have for Golden Stick winner?
Gotta be either Shelly or Xander. Well, but Xander has a broken leg.
I'd imagine Xander's probably not going to be
Man, I didn't
playing.
even consider that. My pick still stands. I'm not changing it, but I didn't even think about that. So I guess I have to go Shelly by that logic.
I mean, Shelly's a great pick. Like, no, I don't think anyone's going to get mad at you for suggesting the current PLL MVP is going to be the MVP of the championship series.
Yeah.
And then you never know who's going to get signed. Last year it was Ronan Jacoby, who kind of broke out of nowhere and played. I shouldn't say broke out of nowhere. He had a pretty good championship series the previous year with Utah. So it wasn't completely out of nowhere, but he was 8th in championship points this year, and no one above him is playing this coming year. They were all on teams that did not make the championship series this year. So, seeing him make a jump could happen. But my pick is Brian Costabile. That
was going to be my sneaky pick.
Yeah. I think it is more of a sneaky pick. In fact, that's why I looked this up to see where he was. He's actually way farther down the list than I thought he was last year. But I don't even actually see him on this list, which is really weird. Did he not play last year? Am I stupid?
I have no idea.
I don't either. It's only showing 38. Wait, yeah, it's only showing 38. Now it says 41. No, there he is. He's okay. What is happening?
Yeah, no, he played. He played.
Yes. Yeah, I don't know what I was just looking at.
2 really good games, and then followed it up by a couple.
You know what I was looking at? I was looking at last year's championship series. That's why. So ignore everything I said about Ronan Jacoby. That was true of 2024's championship series. The same logic, though, applies to Brian Costabile. He was 3rd in points at this past championship series, and the only 2 people that outscored him were Asher Nolting and Matt Campbell, neither of which will be here. So Brian Costabile is my MVP pick, although Connor Schellenberger, I also really wanted to pick Miles Jones.
That's a
He
good
was
one
my
too.
pick last year. I really liked him, and he
I've
started off
noticed
so
you
strong.
pick Miles Jones for a lot of things.
What else did I pick Miles Jones for?
You didn't officially pick him, but you talked about how you wanted to pick him for PLL MVP before the season started this year.
Yeah. Well, and he started fairly well. What do you have this year? Uh, he had oh geez, what do you have? 5 points in 3 games. So not amazing. Although his last game was 0 points. Uh, that was he only had 5 touches in that last game though. Like
Yeah.
that's I'm not really faulting a 0 point game against him when he only had 5 touches.
Yeah.
And then they sat him. So he really had 5 points in 2 games, started very well, and then they just dropped him. So, uh, you know, I felt pretty good that second week. I was like, it's a long shot. I don't think he's necessarily going to win it, but I was like, I feel pretty good about it. And then they just dropped him. He'd never played, and cool, great. So, uh, let's move on to the regular season. I'm going to start at a different spot. We didn't do this on WLL because there's only 4 teams. Give me your top 4 teams at the end of the season, the teams that will play in the 2027 championship series.
All right, we're going Denver. There's no particular order. Denver, New York, Philly. Oh, that last one is tough.
Oh,
I don't know why I'm hesitating. There's no stakes to this. Like I'm gonna change this, but I'm questioning. I'm thinking. But picking between Boston and Utah. I'm trying to think about Utah's roster next year and what it could actually look like. Because if assuming Joey goes there,
yep.
how does he perform? Does he carry the team? Do they follow through with my hypothetical of trading for Zed? Does that work out? Do they run it back with Connor and all them? Does Joey get there and then traded to the Redwoods for Chris Cav? And, there's a lot.
This right here is exactly why I wanted to do this, because I think it's funny to think about all the different ways that it can go between now and then.
Like, okay, I think I'm gonna go Boston just for now, because I think those 4 teams have the most rock solid rosters. I say rock solid. Maybe Boston, Philly, we'll see. But I think generally you look at the rosters and you say, okay, they have stars that'll be there. I think California will still be very competitive though, and make a push for that 4th spot. I need to see more from Carolina and Maryland though for at this point,
So here's my 4: New York, Denver. I think what you've said, they have those guys. They should be there next year. Then I'm taking California because I just think that Joe Spallina is going to make moves. He is going to be, all over trying to make this team even better than they were this year. I think he made a lot of great moves this year, and looking forward to next year, I think I think now you can kind of look and see, okay, we need a little bit. I think coming into the season, I'm not sure that, they kind of needed a little bit of everything. And I think now you can kind of look at it and see like, hey, can we get a little bit better in goalie? Can we get a little bit better at midfield? There's just a few things that they need to do. Can we maybe add either get you a Joey Spallina? Can you make a move to get that caliber player, or can we get some depth at attack to support what we already have right there? And I think I don't want to bet against Joe Spallina making those moves. And then the 4th one, I have the Maryland Whip Snakes. That face. Here's why. I think Jim Stagnita is the best coach in the PLL. And I think that roster is very good. if we let the young guns do their thing. And if you think about it, they had to win what, one game, and they'd have been in it this year. So
I don't know if they own the tiebreaker or not over Carolina or California, I guess, for that matter too.
I thought they were in wrong one.
Because they were 4-6.
Oh, so okay. I thought they beat. Well, no, they beat the brakes off of Carolina. Remember, that was the game that Carolina lost by like 14.
So then, do they own the tiebreaker over them on that?
I don't know if they played again. If it was 1-1, or if they won. I also score differential is the first tiebreaker, isn't it? So they would have won it if they had won one more game.
Well,
score differential was the number one.
Yeah. So one more game, and you're right.
And they would have been in.
And they would have been third.
Oh yeah, you're right, because their score differential was better than California's too. You're right.
Yeah. I didn't think about that way.
Yeah, though I didn't think about Utah because they were so far down. I didn't even think about them getting back up. But you're right about Utah. They could be completely different next year. They also could have more or less the same roster and just be better than they were.
Yeah.
The Cannons at this moment on September 23rd, 2025, the Cannons don't move me. That defense is too old. It's too slow. It's not good enough for them to be in that top four. The Water Dogs to me are kind of like the Archers in that they maybe sort of started to figure some things out. And if they can kind of keep that going, they could win the whole thing next year. But they also could be exactly what they were this year, way down the bottom of the barrel, where things just kind of inexplicably aren't working, similar to the Utah Archers this year. So those are the four I'm going, and why I'm going with them. Again, we're so far out. I don't think you could be mad at anyone for picking anyone except for, as you mentioned, maybe the Carolina Chaos. You just kind of
for now.
Right. We'll see what happens in the draft. We'll see what happens in free agency, stuff like that. Could completely
again. I think they'll be way better than second in a row. I think they'll be better than we're expecting them to be, especially having Hiltz there for a full year. I would assume Jackson Eicher's coming back for another year.
That was the word on him, was that they not drafted him. They signed him because he was going to have at least 2 years. We'll see.
And we'll see who else they draft or sign.
My thing with the Chaos is less about whether or not they can be what they were this year, that kind of level. It's more about, will other people catch up? Will other people play? They're not going to be a surprise next year. So
yeah, true.
That's kind of my thought there. Let's move over to the regular season. Well, I guess top four is a regular season, but let's go with your MVP pick for next season.
Do I double down? Second year in a row? I mean, Brennan was real good. But I think they figured out that even with as many points as he had, I think that's his sort of max for what his role currently is. So I don't know that he's going to win it. Man, this is so difficult.
It's so hard.
Especially because, I argued this year for goalies to win it, and in large part, they got no respect, in my opinion, from everybody. So part of me is like, do I even throw a goalie out there? Because clearly it's a point-scoring award.
Were you going to
say that, and then people are going to say, well, 3 of the 6 seasons have been goalies, or whatever they said last time I said this on Twitter. So, and I don't want to be a homer either. That's the other problem.
You can be a homer. Who cares?
I could, but I also don't want to deal with that on Twitter either. So I'll go
Mine's
with
a homer.
I'll go with one of the guys that I argued should have been a finalist, Brett Dobson, because I
Yeah.
think he is still a top goalie in the league. I
Mhm.
mean, you can make the argument that four of them really are, the best in the world at some point or another. And I think honestly, he's gonna have to carry that team if they run it back and are still not themselves injured. Even if they get a guy like Joey and they have to rebuild to an extent, like he's gonna have to be the backbone. So yeah, I'll take Dobson right now.
I like that pick. I like that pick. It's funny because, like you said, I didn't even think about a goalie because it's never a goalie. Which I know it. I know it was Blaze one year, but it's
Yeah.
never a goalie.
Well, when I called it a point scoring award, I got told something along the lines of, well, Trevor won one, Blaze won one, and
That's it.
someone I was like, okay, but that doesn't make it like not a point scoring discussion. Like every time you talk about MVP, people talk about points. So that's where I feel like it's
Also,
gonna go into an attackman.
Blaze won it in the bubble. No, Zed won it in the bubble. So,
Yeah.
I don't. It's an offensive award. I think Blaze and Trevor had to not just be the best at their position, not just better than all the rest. They had to be like so much better than offensive players have to be.
Yeah.
You know, and even then it was a discussion. Should it have been Trevor? Should it have been Blaze? Should it have been X or Y or Z or whatever? So, you know, that being said, my answer is a little bit of a homer answer. Um, although it's not because I'm a homer. And that is Michael Sowers. I think kind of like you said for Brett Dobson, I think he's gonna have to be very good. I know now that I've said it though, I'm like, yeah, but CJ's gonna come in and take some of his touches, take some of his points. And to be fair, that's probably necessary to an extent. Even though it feels like it might be one of those Connor Schellenberger, Jeff Teat kind of things where maybe Michael Sowers is still really the MVP. He's still the one that like that offense goes off of, and he kind of makes everything work. And if he's down, the whole offense is going to be a little bit down. But that CJ puts up the points and stuff that's going to get him that attention. So maybe they end up splitting. Maybe Michael Sowers is actually a really terrible pick now that I've thought about it. I completely forgot about the fact that they were going to have CJ back this year. So maybe that's not the best call. Maybe it's going to be Liam Intamin. I don't know if that's who you were thinking of, but I can also go with Asher Nolting. That was my pick for MVP this year, and I think he had a very good season, not necessarily up to his standards. I mean, he's not up to his standards, and he was still 6th in the league in points. So, I don't think
he
Asher
just have to
Nolting-
start stronger. If he
Yeah,
started
I
the season
do.
a little stronger, I think he has a legit chance.
Yeah, if he starts a little bit stronger at the beginning of the season and his team ends up in a better position, we talked about Brett Dobson was severely discounted from a lot of the postseason awards because of where his team not making the playoffs and stuff. So, yeah, I think both of those things are true. So I love
It's
the Brett
also
Dobson answer.
It's also just funny saying that when he started with 3 points, he had the 1 point, and then back to 3 points. Like he only had 2 games with less than 3 points.
Yeah.
But when you look at the rest of like the MVP finalists, it's like, wow, like they they were having 4 a game. But I think he'll bounce back pretty nicely.
Didn't Sowers have 2? Yeah, Sowers had 2 less than 3 point games too. So yeah, it's like
but he had enough bigger games that it still ended
That's
up
true.
with over 40.
That's true.
Is what I'm getting at. Like I think most seasons you could argue Asher should be a finalist, but then it's like you have these other guys that are just putting up astronomical numbers that beat him out. But I think, like I said, and it couples up with, I think next year Boston will be better as well.
Yeah.
So I think that will benefit Asher too.
Yeah, because like I said in mine, when we were talking about the top four, it was I discounted Boston because of their defense, but they got that number 2 pick, and if they pick up Bobby Van Buren, like I think most of us expect them to, they could be significantly better on the defensive end of the ball. So let's take this last one and say who is going to be your champion right here today.
Team I just lost.
That's it? That's all you got?
Yeah.
The end. Fair enough. All right, fine. My PLL champion is also the Denver Outlaws, with one big giant caveat. One huge caveat. The defense either has to stay together, like neither Mike Manley or Jesse Bernhardt retire. Jesse or Jake? Jesse. Neither one of them, either neither retires, or they make some kind of move that gets them, not necessarily Bobby Van Buren, but someone. They make some moves that bring some really good defenders in the door. I think they're going to need at least as good of a defense as they had this year. And if 2 of those guys go out and they just kind of replace them with, a hodgepodge or whatever, trying to get through, then I don't have them as a champion. But if they can get what they had this year or better, then yeah, I think they're the champion. I think they have all the pieces.
I still think, well, I wouldn't say all. I still think one of them retires. One of Jesse or Manley. And then I think, our guy Brian said this is the year to draft one if you need a pull.
Yeah.
So I would anticipate they draft 1 or 2 of them. Maybe look at the free agent market. I don't know who's up on their deals. I do agree, though, but I think one of them stays and plays another year. The only other concern is face-off. It's nothing against Luke Weirman because he does have games where you're watching and you're like, he's really good. He's beating the top of the league guys. But then he has games like the championship where you're like, you're lost. So I think having some type of competition, at least in camp, should theoretically help him and help them be a contender again. But if they don't shore up the defense or face off, then I think there's potentially some trouble.
I like it. I agree. Those are the 2 spots. I know some people were really down on the Denver defense. I wasn't really that down. I thought they were pretty good, as evidenced by making the championship. I don't think you make the championship with a bad defense, and people wanted to act like the Outlaws defense was bad, and I just didn't think it was that bad. But moving forward, I think they're going to need some help. And then the other spot that you look at, like you said, is face-off, where they clearly need some help. That championship game was not good enough. I don't know that they win. If it's closer to 50%, I don't know that they win. But you got to think they have a very good shot if they can get, whatever it was that would have put them. It was at least probably 6 or 7 more possessions. So you got to think they'd have a very, very good shot of winning that game with a handful more possessions. So, I got 2 questions I didn't prep you on. One I literally just thought of, and one I just forgot. I just forgot to prep you up. So we're gonna ask them anyway. The first one: how many points will top the table? We were talking about Asher not hitting 40. This year, Connor Schellenberger led in points with 46. Last year, obviously, it was Jeff Teat at 64. You know, usually it's somewhere just slightly over 40 or so points. So how many points will top the table?
I'm going 45.
45. Okay.
That's 4.5 points a game on average.
Yeah.
Gives you a little bit of wiggle room to have a big game and a down game. And it's in between Sowers and Shelley this year, which I think is probably a pretty good range.
Okay. So I'm gonna say we're moving upwards, ignoring Jeff Teat's astronomical season last year, just anomalous season that will take a very long time. I don't think that it's always going to be a decent jump every single year. But I think 48 is the number next year. I'm tempted to just say 47, that it's just one goal better, or 1 point better, but I'm going to say 47 next year. Similar to you, it's not an astronomical thing to average kind of 4.7 points a game. It's high, don't get me wrong. But Connor Schellenberger was already at 4.6 this year. I think a few guys, Michael Sowers could have blown that out of the water until he kind of slowed down a little bit. Asher Nolting kind of ramped up towards that number. So, you know, I don't think it's too much. It's going to be obviously all about that consistency. But yeah, I'm going to say 48. And then my last question on our way too early 2026 predictions is, who will be the biggest mover? And I'm actually going to split this into two questions. One, who will be the biggest mover in the table? So the biggest fall, the biggest rise, however you want to go. And then the second half is, who will be, I guess it's maybe more of a, who will be the biggest, like the busiest in free agency, do you think?
Man, that's trying to pull up the full.
Wish I had prepped you.
No, I'm trying to pull up the full list so I don't have to only talk about these 6 guys that I'm seeing here that I cannot seem to figure out their website.
Sorry.
Hold on.
This is not individual players. I meant this is teams.
Oh, you meant standings.
Yes, standings. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I thought we were still talking about the.
No, that's my bad. I could have organized it a little better if I had.
I think Utah moves the most. I mean, they were last, and I just said I think they're going to be top 4. No, I didn't.
Okay.
I argued they were going to be better, though.
Yes.
So, by that logic, they have to move up technically 2 spots to 5th. Because like I think New York and Denver are probably at the top still. California's probably still right there. Yeah, because I think everybody else is going to move down or up 1. Or I guess Philly would move up to 2 as well. So Philly or Utah.
It could be a slide too.
Yeah, but even that slide's only going to be one or 2 spots. I mean, unless Maryland really falls down 3, which I could see. I'll take them for now.
Or 1 spot above them, the Carolina Chaos could. I think the Carolina Chaos could be better than we expect. Kind of what we thought coming into this. They can be better than we expect and still be the last place team. Again, this is well before they've made any offseason moves, before they've drafted anyone. I know they like to tout that draft class from last year. Still not impressed with the draft class. I know they made a couple of pretty solid signings. Jackson Eicher, obviously the kind of top of that list. A couple of their trades worked out pretty well, but their draft was not good. And I don't.
You better be careful. You better be careful. Last time you said this, you ended up in a video.
They can put me in another video. That's fine. I'm not scared. I'm not scared. I mean, I don't want the smoke from Blaze, but I'll take the Carolina Chaos smoke. That's fine.
He said that, guys, not me.
That's right. You can direct it to I am Neil Bennett. That's totally fine. That's totally fine. But yeah, I think they could be better than even coming into this next season we expect them, and still be considered last place. You know, they could be very good and still have the Archers shoot up, the Water Dogs shoot up, the Cannons shoot up. Like, everyone below them you look at and think they are in a better position than the Carolina Chaos are. And that's not necessarily a shot at the Carolina Chaos. It's more about these teams were, I mean, the Carolina Chaos, I think, are doing very well when you think about who they've lost in the space of two. I'm so used to the soccer language. I keep wanting to say in the space of two transfer windows, like from the end of the 23 season to the start of the 25 season. So the two periods before and after the 2024 season, they lost their entire offense. Every single player who was a midfielder or attackman for them left. That's crazy. And then they drafted Will Bowen, and everybody thought, like, okay, cool. Now we've got Jack Rowlett, Jared Newman, and Will Bowen is going to be kind of the core of this defensive front. And then Will Bowen retired, and then Zach Geddes left. And, you know, I think that Justin Inacio was an upgrade from Nick Rowlett, but Nick Rowlett left. Like, they just had so much turnover. I think it's fair to say they exceeded expectations, and they are still in a worse position than pretty much every other team in the league.
So even though it's Carolina.
I mean, yeah, who else are you going to pick? Again, on September 23rd, looking at these rosters, knowing who's coming back next year, or who's looking like they're coming back next year, what are you putting your faith in this Carolina Chaos team for? Like,
it has nothing to do with the Chaos. It has to do with, I don't know that I trust Maryland. They have some really good pieces, but like there wasn't one time this year that I looked at them and was like, oh no, they're gonna win.
Okay, but two things. First, even if we accepted that on face value and we said they're better than Maryland, okay, so they'll be 7th. Like,
that would be the same slide as Maryland going to 8th.
Right.
And Utah bumping to 5th.
Well, yeah, if Utah bumps to 5th.
When Utah bumps to 5th.
But I still think that the Whipsnakes are in a way better position. Their defense was statistically, even though I think their statistics are slightly inflated, statistically the best defense in the league. I think they finally got Emmett Carroll. I think they finally have their goalie for at least the foreseeable future. I think they have a ton of pieces on their offense. They still have Joe Nardella taking faceoffs. Like, they're in a significantly better position, I think, than the Carolina Chaos are. And again, they can put me in another video next year when they.
I mean, they were in a better position this year too.
Sure. I mean, that's.
I just need them to prove it to me. It's just
right.
My thing, because Carolina showed that they can at least fight back, and with Hiltz in there now, and like, I just think they looked way better. This could change if they draft and I'm like, oh wow, they didn't add anybody and Maryland did. I'd be happy to move them, but even so, none of this matters because I still think Utah's going to go up 3 spots.
Sure, but we're talking biggest move.
Yeah, that's the biggest move.
Only if they're above Maryland.
Yeah, but that means Maryland can drop down 1 or 2.
Right, but I'm saying then if the Chaos drop 4, then that's the biggest move.
Well, if the Chaos, I don't think the Chaos are dropping 4, is what I'm saying.
All I'm saying is, look at this attack: Jackson Iker, Owen Hiltz, Adam Sherrill, and Beatties, Josh Zawada. The Whip Snakes have T.J. Malone, Aiden Carroll, Rob Pennell, Matt Rambo. All right, fine. But in midfield, they have Matt Brandow, who moved down and I think was very good. Then they still have Brad Smith, Adam Poitras, Levi Anderson, Ryan Ogden, which I didn't even realize was on this roster. You know, like Ryan Conrad, who was injured all this year. The Chaos midfield is Ross Scott, Shane Knobloch, JJ Silstrop, Sergio Perkovic, who was like one of their better players, Garrett Degnon, Cross Ferrara. Cross Ferrara had 5 points this year. Eric Dobson, Cole Williams, Chris Aslanian. I don't even think Chris Aslanian had 9 touches.
And somehow that team still finished 4th, ahead of the Maryland Whip Snakes by 11 goals.
No. Not by 11 goals.
I'm sorry. I was reading California to Carolina. My apologies. Yes. Either way, they still did finish ahead of them 4th. They won more games with that roster, and they're going to add to it in the offseason.
Listen.
And that entire attack line, aside from Jackson Iker, is going to play box, which will only help them.
Listen.
I know you're a Carolina homer. You don't want to admit that's your team.
Oh my God.
All right. It's okay.
No.
You can be positive about Carolina. It's all right.
No. No, there's literally nothing about them that I'm a homer about. I like a couple of the guys. I like Blaze. Blaze, I like you. You're great.
There we go.
Don't come
there
from
we go.
Shane, Brett Dobbs, Jesus, I can't even say it. Blaze Reardon is the best goalie in the league. But
Very nice,
next year when they're last place, I'm playing this clip. And next year when they're 5th place, we're playing this clip.
Absolutely. Except it's going to have to be when they're like 6th or something, because Utah's going to be 5th. I'm telling you. I'm real high on Utah on September 23rd, 2025 for the 2026 season. Play that clip next year when they're, if they're 7th or 8th. I'm gonna be like, nope, I said September 20th.
I'm just posting that one. That's going to be the only clip from this episode that gets aired is I'm real high on the Utah Archers for the 2026 season. That's it.
I mean, to be fair, I am, but that's also assuming that like all these moves happen that I think are going to happen. That that's probably true. Won't, but it's fun to think about.
Hey, what are you going to do when the Archers draft freaking Eric Spanos instead of Joey Spallina? Like, some people
I think that's a fantastic move. I think we should write more articles about that. Let's make graphics. Let's do jersey swaps already.
Yep. Good plan.
I don't even know what the other question was.
That just reminded me of, it was who's going to make something about making the biggest moves.
Oh, in free agency?
Yeah.
The Utah Archers. Done deal.
That doesn't include drafts.
Utah Archers.
So what you think they're going to do? I think
it's less about what they're going to do. I think it's more about who they're going to lose. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid real hard on them losing some guys.
We know some of the guys they're rumored to be losing.
Yeah. And maybe they don't. Maybe it's all like they'll come back and whatever. I just think I mean, the fall from grace from them was just pretty big. And I think when you have an opportunity to go young with a guy like Joey, or even if you swap him for a Chris Cav or whatever, I think you go that route. And I look at some of these other teams, like, I thought Chaos was going to, I'll do a little bit more last year, and they, kind of didn't. Denver's keeping their same core. Atlas is keeping their same core. Carolina, barring a trade for Joey Spallina, in my mind, keeping their guys. Maryland, like you said, keeping theirs. Philly's keeping theirs. Boston's keeping theirs. I think most of the moves are going to come in the draft from pretty much every team.
I feel like the biggest mover is going to be the Woods, because I'm not personally one of the people that thinks that Joe Spallina is going to make a move to draft Joey. I think what it would take to make that move would be irresponsible.
I don't necessarily disagree, but I could see it occurring still.
I just don't. I think if you're a GM and you make that move because it's your son, you should be fired immediately. Like,
that's a fair take. That's a fair take.
Because if I'm the Utah Archers and I have the number 1 pick, and you come to me and I know you want Joey Spallina, I have all the power. You're giving me a lot to get Joey Spallina. Like, it's not just going to be like Chris Kavanaugh. It's going to be like Chris Kavanaugh on the number 1 pick, or a first round pick the next year or something. Like, it's not just going to be some simple move. And I think you're going to have to give up way more than you want to or should.
Yeah, but if you're the Archers, do you worry about Joey leaving the first chance he gets then to go team up with his dad in the future? So then on that front, would it make more sense to accept a trade where you're getting something like a Chris Kavanaugh first?
No, because what's gonna say that Chris Kavanaugh doesn't bolt at the first opportunity he gets? Who's to say Joe Spallina is still a GM in 3 years, after his rookie deal? Like, I think y'all can disagree. I think we're looking at this right now, and I'll worry about his free agency in 3-4, whatever the rookie year deal is. We'll worry about that in 3 or 4 years, whatever. Like, I'm going to go get the guy that's going to win me a champion. Like, in my mind, and admittedly, there's some things up in the air with some of the other players that could alter this. But in my mind, a Joey Spallina-led Archers team could potentially be a win the next 3 championships. We're talking about a team that just won back-to-back, and now you're going to add Sam King and Joey Spallina in back-to-back years, plus whoever else they draft as well. Like, why would I not think, if I'm the Archers, why would I not think that we could win the next 3 if we played our cards right? Am I willing to give up those 3 championships just because I think Joey Spallina might leave after his rookie deal's up? I'm not.
Sure, but we're talking about potentially trading for a guy that just had 37 points in his
Sure.
rookie season, and you'd probably be getting a first on top of it.
Sure, but you also, people act like this is just like a done deal trade. Like,
no. I'm not trying to say that, for the record.
No, I
We're using this as an example, but
I have heard this is the trade scenario that like everyone's just running with. If I'm the Redwoods, why would I want to give up Chris Kavanaugh for that? Is the trade that worth it? Like you said, Chris Kavanaugh just had 37 points. He just led your team nearly to the championship. Is getting rid of him to bring in Joey Spallina just because his dad's the GM gonna put you in a better position to win? I don't think so. Again, y'all can tell me I'm wrong.
I still think Utah's trading for Zed. That's going to be my far and away, if there's going to be a trade with a a veteran, like a big time name, I think that'll be it from Utah's perspective.
What's that trade look like in your eyes? Not necessarily the specific pieces, although I mean you probably have to kind of have some idea of specific pieces in order to kind of make it understandable, but like I'm not suggesting that you think this is the trade, but like in your mind, how does a trade like that work?
Probably just a draft pick, if I'm being honest.
You think just a draft pick?
Just because I think there's, you're coming off that injury is a gamble.
Yeah.
For both him as a player and the team. And I just, like, I'm trying to think, like, who else. Like, Philly has a crowded room right now, so they don't have, like, it's not as simple as being like, well, we'll ship you a player back, because they literally don't have room. That was their problem this whole, back half of the season. So I think from that perspective, it's like, hey, this guy's probably not playing for us. He's coming off an injury. You guys are clearly kind of needing some pieces. I don't think he's worth like a first necessarily, but like, who's to say they don't say, hey, the second round pick or our third round pick could be spent on this.
Yeah. You bring up a good point about the injury and not really knowing, where he is.
Because we've seen guys come back from that injury and be incredible in all sports. We've also seen guys that have an injury like that and come back and are just not themselves. And then at least if it doesn't work out, you say, hey, it was one pick, 1 year. Whereas if you send a player, it's like, oh.
Yeah, and to your point, trades in the PLL have yet to really work the way that they work in other leagues in like Big Four leagues where you got a former MVP, you're gonna give up something to get that. That has not really been the case in the PLL historically. When you look at it, trade value is not as high as what we would tend to expect for things. So in that sense, the more you talked about it, the more I'm like, no, okay, I can see that. I can see a second or a third for Zed coming off an injury. I do think, like you said, we've seen guys come back and not be good, and we've seen guys come back and be great. I would tend to lean more towards him being more of what he had been, just because I think his game style kind of reflects that. Like, he's not Derrick Rose. He wasn't a crazy explosive guy. He wasn't, anything too crazy there. I think he could, make that work pretty well. I'm not super worried about him, but you are right. It is something we have to see. We have to look at. So, ooh,
yeah,
that's a lot.
But this is also all just, again, assuming that Utah loses guys, and then where do those guys go sign? So from that perspective, like, maybe Carolina's buyers at that point.
Oh yeah.
If Mac O'Keefe says, hey, does Carolina say, hey, I know they have Hilty now on that right side, so maybe they don't want to go get Fieldsy as well. But if they did, I mean, just thinking about all the other teams, like, those guys are still, top tier talents, and I don't know where else they would really go. Like, I'm sure there's other moves that could be made, but it's just, I think this offseason going into it right now, they have like the most questions in my mind roster wise.
So Connor Fields is contracted through next season.
Okay, I thought he was done this season. Okay, so that actually works out then.
Yeah,
Mac O'Keefe is a free agent, though, right?
It says through 2026. Let me see.
Man, please tell me I'm not completely off on this, and I'm just talking.
Well, so the rumor is that Connor Fields is one of the guys leaving. He's not. The rumor is not that he's leaving the Archers. It's that he's leaving the league. That he had his no, Mac O'Keefe is through 2026 as well.
Wow. Okay, so I'm just completely off base then.
So both of the rumors around those guys is not that they're leaving the Archers. It's that they are leaving the league. These are rumors. Okay. We'll see what happens. But that is the rumor.
My apologies.
Yeah, no, that's fine, because I didn't know either. When you said that, I was like, oh man, could they go? I had been hearing that they were leaving the league, but this kind of makes it that if they're leaving the Archers, it is most likely to leave the league. A trade could happen, something could happen,
Okay.
but if they are not with the Archers, it is most likely that they are not playing in the PLL next year.
Okay,
So
that actually does make some sense. Which, from that perspective, then right back up on our conversation. Now you have even more opportunity for guys to come in and
yeah.
play, which makes me think that they're going to have to be massive buyers of whoever's available, and then in the draft as well.
Yeah, it's one of the reasons why I have really liked your idea of the Archers going for Zed, because it's relatively low risk, and with kind of a high reward. If you can get him for especially if you can get him for like a 3rd round pick,
Mm-hmm.
you take Zed Williams, who again has been an MVP in this league. He's on a team where he just doesn't have a whole lot of space anyway, even though in my mind, and I have argued this on this show before, he's the guy that does things a little bit different than everyone else. So in my mind, he could really still work in Philly, but he's now that room is getting smaller and smaller. So it makes a lot of sense for him to move somewhere else. Like I said, if they can get him for relatively low price, it could be something that has a lot of return for them. So the more you have explained to that, I've been like, yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. But you also bring up a good point that the Carolina Chaos, every time an offensive player comes up with like where could they go? It's always Carolina, because they need so much help. I think they basically need all 6 offensive positions. I mean, I guess 5 of the 6, because you'd say Owen Hiltz probably has his pretty secure. Maybe even 4 if you said, Jackson Eicher has his position. Although my question would be, what position does he play? Because he was kind of anywhere they needed him. So in that sense, I think those 2 guys are secure in playing offense. I don't know that Jackson Eicher has a set position. He could kind of be moved anywhere. So in that sense, it's kind of 4, it's kind of 5 positions. The only one that I'd say is really locked up is that that left side attack spot with Owen Hiltz. Everyone else is going to be, Zed could come to Carolina. Connor
I thought
Fields,
about that as well.
like you said, Connor Fields could come to Carolina if they make some kind of move. I still think Rob Pennell could fit in Carolina. They could be big movers as well. So, yeah, that's a lot to think about. A lot of computing we just did, trying to navigate all of the different things, and I think it is going to be very interesting to look back on in 6 months, 8 months. It's probably going to be really interesting to look back on this time next year when the season is over, and to see how it all played out and where it all went. Let's move on to something that I have been wanting to talk about for a good while, but it just never quite felt the right time to bring up, just because we were going over games and all the kind of big news of the season and everything. But now that we have a little bit of a break, I wondered, what are some changes that you would make if we made you the Lacrosse Czar for a day or a month or whatever, and you were able to make whatever changes you wanted to the game as a whole. It doesn't have to be PLL specific, doesn't have to be anything specific, just the sport as a whole. What are 3 changes that you'll make? We can go one by one if you would like. So yeah, let's go one by one. What is the first change that you would make?
Fighting is allowed.
Just across the board.
Across the board. Obviously, there are limits, as there are in box leagues right now. You can't just go and, power drive someone or whatever. But I think it makes the sport exciting, and I think we saw this year alone how the NLL made it on the Joe Rogan podcast because of a fight. Now, people can argue, is that the best representation of a sport? I don't really care. It's part of it in box. It's awesome. I think it'd be fun. And I think more casual fans. I think like I have friends that like hockey because there's fighting. Like they could care less about the actual game. They just want to see fists being thrown.
See,
it's an unpopular opinion, but
I don't know that it's necessarily an unpopular opinion. It might be like a 50-50 opinion. I don't know. I am of the opposite opinion. Not so much that I want to get rid of it. I think it serves a purpose in both hockey and box. My thought with hockey, because I've been a hockey guy for a really long time. My thought with it is if you like the fighting, not if you like the fighting, if you're there to watch the fighting, you're not a hockey fan. I know so many people that say, oh, I like hockey because of the fighting, that couldn't tell you the first thing about the sport. Couldn't tell you 5 team names, couldn't tell you 3 player names, couldn't tell you who won the Stanley Cup last year, have not watched a game all year. They have maybe seen some fighting highlights on, Sports Center or on social media or whatever. And to me, you don't really like the sport. Like if you're not paying attention to it, even if, it's too difficult to actually sit down and watch the games all the time. But if you're not keeping track of it, if you can't name, if I ask you to name 3 people and it's like Sidney Crosby, Alexander Ovechkin, and then you kind of run out of names, it's like, are you really a fan of that sport? I don't think you are. Again, it's a debate we could have.
Sure, but lacrosse doesn't have those fans right now. So I would argue it's better to have those people in seats to at least be there.
How many people do you think are paying money to go watch lacrosse games, NLL games, because they know there's a likelihood of a fight breaking out?
I would say more than you think. I'd say the hockey, same thing. Again, it made it on Joe Rogan. It made it on Pat McAfee. I mean, we're talking about shows and things that aren't showing normal lacrosse highlights, but they got word of this. Now they're showing it to their platforms. You saw a boost in numbers on social media platforms. And again, it's exciting for the people who also still care about the sport itself and are going to be there.
See, but
it adds to the atmosphere, in my opinion.
A lot of that, I think, is social media, is just the way social media works. I mean, you could have 2 bums fighting on the street and one knocks one out, and that clip's going to go viral. It doesn't make people a fan of bum fights. It just, they like seeing someone get knocked out. I don't.
Sure, but that doesn't have top tier sports podcasters saying, wait, what is the NLL? I think I like this, as Pat McAfee did on his show on ESPN.
Yes, but that goes to the point. It's like PMT and they're being an owner of the Water Dogs and how that's good for the sport, but then they don't watch the games, they don't talk about the games, they don't do anything. The one time the Water Dogs were in the championship, they posted, they had like 8 TVs, all of them watching football, and then they had brought in one tiny little TV and it was sitting on the floor, and that was showing the Water Dogs game that nobody was watching. No one gave a shit. Like, let's just be real here. That was not the thing. And now suddenly we're saying like, oh, see, they really like the sport. Like Pat McAfee is not tuning into an NLL game. He said it. And I know some of the guys on his show are fans of the game. Joe Rogan ain't watching an NLL game. Like, that's just.
But it's not about them, though. It's about them putting it on their platform that people can see when you have millions of viewers. Right now, we stop it and we literally actively try to hide fights from social media and saying, oh, it's a bad look. What's better? The same amount of fans and an increase over here to see maybe we can grab more, or just these fans? And then trying to hide it, acting like it's not part of the competition.
I think it's a misnomer. That's what I think. I think it doesn't translate to fans. Is my argument, that if somebody has a statistic that says like, yeah, these 3 clips brought in X amount of fans, which I know is nearly impossible to realistically quantify, then fine. I just don't think that I don't think it actually translates into fans.
I mean, look at UFC stadiums. That's all I'm gonna say. People like fighting.
Yeah, but that is the sport of fighting. Like that's a different thing in my mind. However, let me also say that the pushing in the back and stuff that happens in the NLL, I'm not for. Like, I came from field, and that is a penalty, and I can't do it. And to that,
are you talking about on screens, or what are you talking about?
Just generally, you know, when the ball comes up in the boards or something, somebody's going for a ground ball, they start pushing each other in the back, and I've seen so many people get boarded, and like it's. But what I'm saying is that's like an accepted part of the game. Like that is just how the game is played. Let me put it this way. I started watching Aussie Rules football back in like 2010, and almost every single time there's any kind of whistle or dead ball or whatever, those dudes are like shoving each other. They're like screaming at each other. It's one of those things that like in any American sport would be a penalty, would be some kind of a flag or whatever. It's just like how they play the game. It's just like an accepted part of the rhythm of the flow of the game that like, yeah, you're going to do a little bit of shoving after the whistle. You're going to do, you know, a little bit of talking or whatever. And just from where I come from, like the sporting culture of it is like, it really drives me crazy, but also like, I understand that that's just part of the game that I'm just never going to understand because I wasn't raised the way that was. So I say everything that I'm saying while also acknowledging that it's just me, but like it's based off of my understanding of the game. And I understand that other people don't.
You just don't like extracurriculars, essentially.
I don't like extracurriculars.
You like the game, and that's it. That's fine.
Not necessarily. There's a way to do extracurriculars that doesn't bother me, but just as like a flat statement, yeah, I would say that's probably accurate.
That's fair. I'm the opposite. I personally love extracurriculars.
There, like I said, there's a way to do it. You know, I think.
There are definitely certain things, like I've seen dudes get like cup checked for like no apparent reason. Then I'm like, okay, what like? Yeah, there was one at the Man Cup actually that I was kind of like, yes, Dane was talking trash, but you probably don't need to jab him with your stick.
Yeah, yeah.
Then again, though, he was talking trash, so you know that's the other part of me that's kind of like it is kind of like the game within the game. But I understand why people don't like it. Yeah,
there's a part of me that. As a response to trash, to talk trash, like as a response to it, like that kind of works for me. I don't know. I probably wouldn't do any. I was very much, you know, that Emmitt Smith like score the touchdown, hand the ball to the ref, and run to the sideline. Like that was just
that's how I played sports. But when I watch sports, I'm the opposite. Like I want to see all the dances, spike the ball. Get a taunting penalty, not literally, but you know, like taunting should be allowed in the NFL, is what I'm saying.
You are just at odds with yourself here. Just
yes, I'm not doing it, but I think they should do it.
I like it. My first one is to bring a 2-point line to college. I think. Yep. I think it's needed. It's necessary. I put it at 13 yards, put it at 14 yards, move it a little bit farther in, just because guys are maybe a little bit younger, a little bit, less strong, whatever. But yeah, I think we need a 2-point line in college I have no idea what's happening. I don't know if you can hear that or not.
No,
There's
I don't know.
screaming happening.
I did hear that. Can we bring the PLL shot clock then with it? Or maybe not 52, but could we make it like 65? Or do you want to mix and match like rules? I find the college game to be a little bit too slow. Like shot clock wise. Like I don't think we need 80 seconds.
How much of that is that you come from the NLL with a 30-second shot clock?
No, because I'm fine with the PLL being 52.
Well, yeah, but 52 is, I think, is fairly equivalent to a 30-second shot clock on a a outdoor field that's 2-3 times the size of a rink. I think that's much more equivalent. This is my thing about the shot clock. I don't like to force teams to play
the game.
No. No, I think there's a difference between stalling, playing four corners and just like standing around and passing the ball, and a team that plays a little bit slower, a little bit more deliberately, like Notre Dame. I like watching Notre Dame play a different style of lacrosse to everyone else. I was initially against a shot clock at all. I think I have been proven probably wrong on that.
Yeah, you need something. In my opinion.
I think the 90-second has been good. That it makes people get into the game and play the game, but also has allowed some teams to have some variance in style. Albany's coming down and taking a shot in the first 15 seconds. I think it's fine that Notre Dame and some of these other teams are maybe a little bit more methodical. That the way that the game is played, the differences in the way that the game is played has always been very interesting to me. It's always been fascinating to see kind of what works and what doesn't. And to be fair, it's not like playing Notre Dame's methodical style has worked for them. The 2 championships 3 years ago, I understand people might think that shoots this argument in the foot, but Kevin Corrigan's been there for what, 38 years, 39 years at this point. He's won 2 championships, and it took having Liam Inseman in goal and 2 Kavanaughs on the field. Like, it's not like he's just dominating by playing a slower brand of the game. Neither to that point, neither is Albany by playing a faster brand of the game. Like I find that really fascinating. I'm not suggesting that the PLL changed their clock, but in a lot of ways, I do kind of wish that they had a slightly slower clock, that teams could vary the way that they play. I don't want to see everybody playing the game the exact same way, is basically it, especially at the NCAA level where we have so many more teams. He's like, whatever. I'm over it.
I agree on the 2 point. I don't know that I agree on the shot clock, but that's okay.
I know. I like that my point was the 2 point line, and then we didn't even talk about the 2. We were both like, yeah.
Because I agree. It just makes the most sense.
What is your second thing?
Well, I'm glad I got my, I guess, controversial one out of the way, because these are going to be a breeze. I'll go with a non-playing one first. I think we should have a trading card set, 1 per year, per league. No matter what. What happened this year with the PLL, and I'm not necessarily faulting them because I think they've done a good job doing it themselves and all that thing. But I'm a huge card collector. I didn't collect the newest set. Why? I already had the set from before. It was the same year. It was the same stuff. So I want to see it to be, hey, this is our set this year. I don't need to have, like the NFL right now, all the other leagues have, a million different sets. I don't need all those. I just need, this is what we're collecting. And then you get your players from each league that you like. Now with the WLL, you'll have 3 different sets. College, I recognize, is going to be a hurdle because of NIL, and there's a lot of them. I do think it would be kind of cool to get some type of college collectible out there as well, though. At least for the guys that are going to, be top of their teams and then maybe go pro. Like, I think that'd be kind of cool to have a college card and then a rookie card when they're in the pros.
I like that. We didn't even talk about the NLL has 2 different sets coming out with Leaf.
That as well. Like, I'm collecting one of those, not the other one.
Yeah,
we don't need 2.
Yeah, and it's funny because I did just order another set of another box of the field side kit. That being said, I agree with you. I did order them, but just because I wanted to. I didn't get the whole set, so I was like, I want to try and get the whole set. But generally speaking, yeah, I agree with you. It should be one. I will give them a little bit of space on the WLL and PLL. I don't know how you really put those 2 together. So if each has one set, if there's one WLL set and one PLL set, and one NLL set, like, yeah, I'm fine with that. But yeah, it's getting. I'm like you said, I don't know how you do the NCAA set. That
one's probably the most far fetched. But I thought about that as I was speaking, to be honest. But I just think it'd be cool. Like, there's some guys that I'm like, oh, like if you went to Duke or you live in the area of a college, it'd be cool to be like, oh, hey, look at this card I got of Jimmy Freehill. Like, like that type of thing would be cool. But again, I just don't know the logistics of that. But I just think making collecting cards a little bit more simple, and also allow that chase to really occur, where it's like. Because, like, I didn't have to buy one set of either league because I know I'm going to get more of the other set. Whereas if you have the one, now it's like, okay, I got to make sure I get my cards. I'm actually trading potentially, or buying secondary market, or just whatever. But more of a fun one.
By the way, don't think that I didn't hear that you just slid Jimmy Freehill in here. We're not even talking about games. We're not even talking about him. Like, he's still being brought up. We didn't even need. It had nothing to do with nothing.
Oh, it had everything to do with everything.
My number 2 is we don't talk about Jimmy Freehill.
And that's my cue to exit stage left there, boys.
Wait, are you suggesting that rather than not talk about Jimmy Freehill, you would just not be on the show anymore?
Yeah, Jimmy Freehill's got to be mentioned
once an episode.
Maybe twice.
Maybe twice. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, we'll make sure we put that in your writer.
Oh yeah. When he scores his first NLL goal, man, I'm gonna be insufferable.
I will go off of yours. I want to see. The one caveat to what you said about having one edition is I would love to see like a tops now kind of thing of like a moment like Jimmy Freehill's first goal in the NLL. Okay. Like CJ Kirst's first goal in the NLL, or the PLL or whatever. Like, I would love to see that kind of one-off kind of thing. Even if you did it, I don't know enough about how Topps Now does it, but if there was once a week we picked like one moment and that was the now card of this week, I think that would be so much fun. It would kind of give you something to collect outside of just the one kind of season box set or whatever it is. I think that would be so much fun. I know, Michael Harrison has talked about that a lot. He does a lot of the Topps Now cards. Yeah, I think that would be so much fun, a way to kind of go off of that. So, how many more you got?
Technically 2, but one of them is like really, really quick. So I'll go with the other one. I'll just do both real quick because one of them I've talked about before. This more so applies to just PLL, but it can be integrated to other leagues. No bye weeks, week 1 or the final week, and then you need to portion them out uh, that's not probably not how you should say it, but whatever. Like, great example. Colorado Mammoth's season schedule this year. In the first month, they play twice.
Yep.
Because they have 2 bye weeks, week 2 and week 4. And they have been on the short end of that stick for at least 3 seasons in a row now.
Yeah.
That I've counted. And like that should not be happening. I think it was Philly was off in the PLL the first week. That shouldn't happen. The Outlaws were out the last week that shouldn't happen. Like we just need to figure out a better system in general for bye weeks.
Yes.
Which again we've talked about in depth, so I won't go crazy. The one that I put last on here was actually I want to see leagues and teams be more involved in their local communities. I know like the Mammoth and Cronky just did a gear drive. I know the PLO does some stuff, sending out a player or two each week. But I would like to see more of that to where there's more connection with the teams and leagues, obviously, with the youth scene. So that way, because a lot of youth, from what I understand, actually don't watch pro leagues at the rate we think they should. I think that would help. I also think, like I saw you were talking with some people on Twitter this week about sort of the youth system becoming more like the football system is in America, where like kids aren't necessarily having to buy everything, and it in large part comes because people are donating or they're passed down. I just think doing more gear drives would help grow the sport. I mean, exponentially, especially because you can potentially reuse stuff for quite a while. And I know a lot of guys have like tons of sticks or tons of arm pads or helmets that they just don't use anymore. And with especially teams, like they're going to order a lot of that stuff in bulk to an extent. So I just like to see that. Not saying that they don't do a good job right now, but there's always room for, more in the community, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I'll hit on both of those. First, bye weeks across the board are insane. I don't understand why we have so many. I mean, I understand it, the idea of like it's a niche sport. We're having to deal with fields and availability and arenas and stuff. And so on one hand, I can sort of understand some of the difficulty there, but it just doesn't make any sense. The PLL taking 2 weeks off to start the playoffs, playing 2 weeks of playoffs, and then having 2 weeks off before the championship, like just doesn't make sense. And then yes, like you said, the Water Dogs having a bye the first week and the Outlaws having a bye the last week, like that's ridiculous. That should not be happening. And then, like you mentioned, it drives me crazy in the NLL. Last year, I talked about it where there was all this buildup of training camp and all these things, and then you get to the first week of the season, and there's only like 2 games.
Yeah, and, I mean, this year Colorado and Calgary don't play a home game literally until after Christmas, a month in.
Yeah, and I think I'm trying to remember. There was someone I think I wanted to watch. Maybe it was Lyle or something, and they didn't. They played like 1 game in the first like month of the season last year, and it was just like you did all this building up, and then it's nothing, and it just doesn't make any sense to me. And then you'll come and you'll play 1 game. This is specifically with the NLL. You'll come in and you'll have like a week or 2 off, and then you'll play 1 game, and then you'll have another week or 2 off, and it's just like, and then like you're like a month into the season, and some teams have played like 4 games, and some teams have played 1 game, and then another month into the season, some teams have played 7 and some have played 3. And it's like, I remember trying to track, kind of where teams, a kind of a broad, almost power rankings. And it was so hard because so many teams had played so many fewer games. It wasn't like they had 1 bye week or something. They had so many fewer games. It was like, yeah, but is this team any good? They've only played 2 teams. And that, I don't know. That whole the whole scheduling bye weeks and everything is a mess. It doesn't make any sense. And then the thing about like being involved in the communities, I think is so true. It was a little strange to me. They didn't do a lacrosse gear drive. The Mammoth, they did like just a general sports equipment gear drive, which I thought was a little strange. I don't know.
Because it was a Cronky Sports.
It was a Cronky Sports. Okay.
So that includes Nuggets, Avs,
But
I didn't see the Rapids there, but
it was funny too, because even then, like, people were donating bikes and stuff, which
yeah,
is great. Get, you know, donate things that you aren't using. Let other people have them. I'm all for it. It just felt a little strange because I specifically saw the Mammoth, and like you said, it was Cronky Sports, so that does kind of open it up a little bit. But I saw the Mammoth posting, and I didn't see a single lacrosse piece of equipment being donated anywhere, and it was like, that feels a little strange. But yeah, this whole conversation came up because I was at my nephew's games, and I was noticing all these kids had like brand new gear, like NFL helmets and stuff, like current generation helmets and stuff, which they should. We have so much more like helmet technology than what we had, you know, even 10-15 years ago, much less when I was playing, much less when, you know, my the previous generation was playing. But I was just struck by how much gear they had and how nice it all was. Like, I would have expected, like you were saying, gear drives and hand-me-down equipment and stuff and mismatch. But no, this is small town. You know, I grew up in a place where there were the rec teams that I played. We didn't have to leave the city. We just played other rec teams in our city. These kids are traveling across state lines to play other people. They're traveling, you know, 2 hours away to play other people because it's that small. These communities are that small, and you know, the team that my nephews play on, it's kind of the surrounding area. The it's you know, 5-6 towns worth of kids are playing on these one teams. And when I asked and was, it made me really curious. Like, how are they? I thought maybe the kids were having to buy their equipment like they would in lacrosse, and they aren't. She was like, no, that's all owned by the program. You know, we just kind of, a kid called it, who was part of that conversation on Twitter, he called it gear rental, which in my mind meant like, you know, a tux rental or a movie rental, like you're paying a price to rent it. And he was like, no, that's not really what we mean. It's literally just kind of like, it's more like a library rental where like you're on the team, so you can, you rent it even though you don't technically pay for it.
Which is how a lot of high schools do it right now. I know out here, at least, like this year, the Broncos donated like $15 million worth of like the newest helmets. It's not to like all the high schools. It's definitely not full teams worth, but it's enough. And like then the helmets, at least from the programs that I've personally been in, like belong to that school. So then every year it's, you know, and if you're a freshman and you have a helmet, you might keep that helmet for the 4 years, but then it goes back to, you know, whatever, as long as it's in good condition. And I've always thought about this conversation specifically with football, because I'm like, football's got to be more expensive.
Oh, yeah.
Gear-wise. And yet I'm seeing kids that aren't well off in any way playing it. So I'm like, there's got to be a way to do it. And I really do think it is just gear drives. And I know like Denver City Lax does some stuff with donations, and some other organizations do some good stuff. I mean, I think it's possible. And with the growth that we're seeing in the sport, I think that would be a huge help.
Every program that I've ever been involved in that did a gear drive, it's good, it's necessary, it does help, but you end up with mismatch gear, all kinds of stuff, and that's what specifically struck me about the football that I was at this weekend. Was it was like top of the line gear, it all matched, they had really nice uniforms, they had really nice just everything. And the kids basically paid for their own personal stuff. So cleats, any kind of socks or gloves or anything that they themselves wanted to wear, everything else was provided. And like you said, that stuff is at least as expensive as lacrosse gear. And I was thinking about when I first started playing, the only reason I got to, I'm from a single mother family, like we didn't have any money. The only reason I was able to play when my high school got a team was because my high school had a deal with Bacharach, which was Great Atlantic Lacrosse, which then became lacrosse.com. That's kind of the lineage there. They had a deal with Bacharach, and for $125, we got a Cascade helmet, which was just the original Cascade back in the day, not the lace up one, but the first Cascade helmet, and then a whole line of Bacharach gear. And it was crappy gear. It was not something I would advise people to play long term in, but it was $125 for all of that. And so then I had a $30 stick, and then I had cleats from playing, football. So I all in for $150, and I could play lacrosse. I got a new stick for Christmas. I upgraded my shoulder pads and my elbow pads and everything, because it was not great equipment, but it got me on the field. It got me playing. And I just don't see that anywhere. And I should also say, I wasn't the only one that did. I mean, I'd say 75% of our team did that $125 deal. We all were wearing Bacharach, these big goofy like 80s looking like Bacharach pads and stuff. But like I don't see things like that, number one. And the few that you do are significantly higher. And then like I said, I was seeing all this like top end gear, and I'm like, how are we doing that? My sister-in-law said, I think she paid, it was somewhere in like the neighborhood of 150 for her kids to play. And it was like, and that came with like top of the line gear. And I just don't understand how they do it. And like how there has to be a way that we can do that. So,
yep.
Let's move on. The last one that I've had, and this is probably the one that made me want to have this conversation, was I have a thought on how to change the entire lacrosse calendar that I think probably makes everyone a little bit mad, which is probably the path forward, maybe. I don't know. You guys can decide, I guess. And that is to move the PLL season to the spring, play more or less what the NCAA season is, give or take, whatever they need to do to make it fit, and move the NLL season to post Memorial Day through the summer. And that solves several issues. One, I think for the PLL, it puts the most eyes on the sport while people are playing it, while they are watching college, while they are like, it just kind of concentrates all of, similar to the NFL, or football, I should say, where the high schools are playing at the same time that the colleges are playing at the same time that the NFL is playing. And we just have a football season and everybody is kind of in on football for that time period. It also keeps them away from football, all that stuff. And for the NLL, first of all, you kind of go back to your roots, because that's when the not NLL, but that's when box was played. The reason that box was created was so that hockey arena owners had something to fill their arenas with during the summer when they couldn't have ice, because refrigeration isn't what it is now. And sort of what we were talking about earlier with the availability kind of things and all these little like bye weeks and stuff, gets a lot easier when you don't have to compete directly with hockey. And I know that there's probably some summer hockey and everything. It feels like it makes so much sense for everyone to do that. CJ Kurse this year plays Cornell in the spring, then he gets drafted, goes into playing for the Toronto Rock through the summer, and then joins his PLL team, in February or whatever they do. The one caveat I'll say is I don't know what that does to like senior A, junior A kind of things.
I got that figured out. I got it figured out. And we've talked about this before. That becomes a farm league for the NLL.
I like that. Problem solved. I don't know a ton about it, although
I will say this too. We are not the only ones who have discussed this and think it could work out. So I personally think that's the best solution. The only problem with that, in my mind at least, is that the people who play NLL and Senior A now can't do both if they were aligned at the same time.
Yeah. Yeah. So the one thing I thought was, well, you could move Senior A to the like current NLL schedule.
Yeah.
The only thought I had about that was I don't know how many of these Senior A, Junior A kind of levels are using hockey facilities that maybe are playing through the winter. But by moving the NLL, you at least get out of hockey and basketball season that are predominantly using a lot of these at least bigger arenas. Obviously like Buffalo shares an arena with the Buffalo Sabres. I think
the Sabres share it with the Bandits, actually.
Well, at this point, that's
attendance.
That's probably true. At this point, that's probably true. But Colorado shares an arena with the Avalanche and the Nuggets. I think it would be so much easier for the Mammoth to schedule in the summer. Now, they're still gonna have to fight with concerts and other events that are held, but at least you don't have two teams sitting in your arena that are going to take priority. Both of those teams are going to take priority over the Mammoth. So it's something I thought that might be kind of controversial. I don't know, especially in NLL. I think most field fans could get on board with the PLL being at more or less the same time as the NCAA season. In fact, I think people have encouraged that, the idea of kind of like we do with college football, college lacrosse could be Saturday and the PLL could be Sunday. That sort of system could, at least in theory, work. And of course it won't be a hard line. Like there could be other games on other days, but that could kind of work. I think getting the NLL to shift would be maybe a little bit harder to do, but I think there are so many benefits to it that the only I think real thing to sell is what happens to Senior A and those guys. Though, like we talked about in previous weeks, maybe that could be what makes Senior A an amateur league again, or maybe not. Maybe it makes it worse, but you're not paying for Lyle Thompson, you're paying for whoever the best guy who's not playing in the NLL is. I don't know, but I think it makes too much sense not to at least seriously investigate.
I'm telling you, you're not the only one.
I love the little like ominous, like I know more than you know sprinkles.
I don't know anything. I'm just saying, from conversations I've had, I don't think it's going to be that as crazy of a move. Like if they presented it, I don't think it's going to be like, what, we can't move to, I think it's going to be like, hey. Because I mean, even you got to think about for the people that own the buildings, the owners that own the buildings as well. I would venture to say they'd probably even give priority to an NLL team over some concerts in the summer.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm not saying like if the top of the top came, they're not gonna be like, sorry,
Taylor Swift is taking a priority.
But like there's a lot of concerts that happen at Ball Arena that I'm like,
yeah,
I could see you getting bumped. Like if you're getting 8,000 and Mammoth are pulling 10 or 11, and now you're only competing with two different things as opposed to, like you said, three. And this solution also gets the outdoor guys off the field in like the dead heat of summer.
Yes.
Like the fact that they're having to put their cleats and sticks on ice is insane right now. So I think that solves that problem as well. So yeah, I like it.
All right. Well, on that bombshell, you and I agreeing for once today.
we agreed on other things. We agreed that Jimmy Frito needs to be talked about every episode.
That was your two. That was your two. That is going to do it for us this week. Brandon and I are going to take about a month. It looks like maybe it's 5 weeks, I think, at this point, until the beginning of November off. But unlike some of your other favorite podcasts, we are not done for the foreseeable future, just for a couple of weeks. I will say that I do have an interview with S.L. Price, who wrote The American Game, that will be dropping at some point in that month off. We were supposed to record today and I had to postpone it. So depending on when we get that is to when that will actually drop. It might be next week. It might be some point. Keep an eye on our socials. I will let you know when that is coming. That should be good. But otherwise, we will be back at the first week of November, unless, with the one caveat that unless the CBA completely falls apart and there's just no NLL to be talking about, we might push it back, but we should be back at the beginning of November. So be looking out for that. Like I said, we will post on social media about that. If you enjoyed today's show or any show that you have ever heard from us, don't forget to leave a review of the pod, give this episode a like, a follow, comment, subscribe, all of those good things. Follow us on social media at RunOutPod, or leave us a comment there as well. You can also find me at I am Neil Barrett on Instagram and Twitter, and Brandon at Hoot Sports Media on Instagram and Twitter. All of your comments and likes and ratings and all of that stuff really helps us get into people's algorithms and helps the show grow. Plus, we really love interacting with y'all and want to keep growing out this community. But that is it for today. So until the beginning of November, we will catch you guys in the comments.